What's going on? What's going on? For those watching the replay, how do you do? So I wanted to get on here, man, and do a quick little live stream. I haven't done one of these in years. Realest Q&A ever. This is basically me saying, you can ask me anything. You want to ask me a question about public stuff, personal stuff, relationship stuff, don't matter. This is the realest Q&A ever, where basically anything goes. If you have a question, now's the time to ask. Now, I'm gonna start out with some questions that I've seen. And again, it's gonna be kind of a mix of both relationship questions and, oh man, this sun is in my eye. Ooh, I might need to move this truck. I just pulled up here outside of LA Fitness. This is not gonna be like my normal live streams, by the way. It's not gonna be like, where I just rant and I go off on a particular subject. Like, I really might need to move. I'm here right now. Let me see if my internet's messing up. Y'all let me know. Let me see live chat. I should be able to see. What's up, Kiana? What's up, Karen? But yeah, some questions that I've seen. Y'all know it's been a lot going on, man. It's the Kevin Samuels thing was pretty crazy recently. And I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I got a lot of feedback I thought was interesting on that. Of course, people tagging me all left and right for whatever reason. And we ain't got to talk about that. That's not what I want to talk about anyway. But every time I get on here, man, I see something different. What up, Pamela? Hope you're well. Leanne, what's good? And yeah, I don't know if there's a way to pin let me see if I can pin. I don't know how to do it, because I typically have my moderators, and they typically are the ones who pin a question or something like that. If you have a question, feel free to ask it. I'm gonna try to see, shoot, if I don't lose my sight over here in this sun. All right, let me see here. Rhea, if you have a question. Greetings from Los Angeles, says Tony. I'm gonna do some shout outs, man, because I don't typically look. Y'all know whenever I go in, I'm going in. And I may not even post this. When I go in, I go in. But what's going on, Rhonda? J Love, what's going on? My brother from Alabama. What part of Alabama you from, brother? I grew up in Enterprise, man, down there near Dothan in Ozark. Thank goodness. The sun is going down now. All right. So I'm letting this pre-workout set in. Birmingham, okay, you up top. You up top. From the ham. Good to see you, man. But let's go ahead and get it started, man. If you have any questions, like I said, I'm gonna take about 5, maybe 10, 15 minutes while this pre-workout set in. Ask whatever. Realest Q&A ever is basically, man, where 100% transparency. Unless something is disrespectful, y'all, I ain't gonna put no energy on that, but I'll get to what I can before we go up in here. Rhea says, how do you feel about a man having female best friends that they were intimate with before? I think it's trouble. I think it's trouble. I think the ego says that, as a man or whatever, with good intentions, we can handle it. As long as I know I'm good, trust me, and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we're human beings. So first off, it compromises, most likely, and you can tell him this, but it compromises your ability to feel safe in a relationship. Because if he's been intimate before, first off, sexual attraction was not only established, but it was acted on. Those memories are there, right? That soul tie could still be there. So from that standpoint alone, he's with you. His job is supposed to be to make you feel safe, or at least do his best to make you feel safe in a relationship, and how he's moving and how he's engaging and who he's going to be around and what he's willing to cut off to keep you safe within reason. You ain't asking him to cut off his mama, but just off of how you feel about it alone, that should be a problem, where he should be able to say, you know what, let me make that adjustment then. Maybe I in my singleness, we done been intimate before, but I just thought of her as a sister or whatever. But if it's going to make you unsafe, it's not worth keeping that around. Then secondly, beyond that, again, this is dangerous, man. And I've been down that road before. You think because you got good intentions or whatever, at your lowest, you don't have the same strength, if you will. You don't have it. Just as a man or a woman, you don't have it. You don't have the same I'm gonna make sure I don't do this or do that. No, it's easy with a female best friend. It's easy to start supplementing what you may be missing in your relationship with whatever with what you are going to get out of that friendship, especially somebody you've been intimate with. And here's the thing about, you know, people that's been intimate before, sometimes they don't let go. Sometimes a person you've been intimate with before, they ain't quite let go. So you may be thinking, I'm in my relationship, they ain't let go. And the moment that your best friend, or they best friend, because they're on the outside looking in, they best friend is looking to have some troubled waters, they can prey on that vulnerability. Women do it, men do it, humans do it. So I think he's being naive if he has a female best friend and he's been intimate with her. Just having a female best friend or just a female friend is totally different. But a friend he's been intimate with, there's memories there. Again, it's possible soul tie. Is dangerous at best. A best friend, that's a problem. He's gonna talk to her. He's gonna be vulnerable with her now. Nita says, how do I feel about men telling women they're too independent? You know, it's several ways you can kind of look at that. One way is, you know, that he doesn't want you to, like, some men look for a woman with a void, and that's the only way they could feel sufficient in that woman's life. And every man looks for a way that they can be valuable. That's how our security is placed in, because masculinity gives. Our security as a man in a woman's life is largely in how can we be valuable in what we have to give. So if a woman is independent, to some men who only look for women with voids, that represents a woman that, hey, I can't deal with you. You ain't got no void for me to fill. Okay. Then on the other hand, a man could be trying to say you're too independent, meaning you won't get out of your own way and let me add any value. You're so used to being hurt and burned by men. You're so used to being either rejected or let down or disappointed or used and controlled because a man gave you something. You don't even know how to make room and let me in. It's almost the equivalent of whenever you're trying to be nurturing to a man and supportive of a man, but he won't open up. He won't let you be what your femininity has designed you to be in a man's life that's made you feel safe and all that, that's really earned your love. So it's the context is there. I would say this, I encourage independence. I think your dependence on a man should be strictly voluntary. But again, voluntary both ways. So whenever a man comes and he earns that trust and he lets you know he can be depended on, then now you can let him in. Now you can let him add value. But never date from a place of, I need you in order to survive, whether on an emotional or financial level. Because then you'll take what you can get and you won't get what you deserve. Let's see here. Netta, my bad, Netta. Corrected. Thank you, BJ. Much love to you. McConnell, what's good? BJ says, I have a crush who tries to stay professional and won't come out and say I'm pretty, but spiffy and fantastic and other unindicating words. But does he think I'm ugly? Hold on. You have a crush who tries to stay professional? Do y'all work together? He won't come out and say that you're pretty, but he'll say you're spiffy and fantastic. That's a tough one again, BJ, because if he could just be really awkward, he could be insecure. Like if he put himself out there and say, hey, I think you're beautiful. He could be insecure, so he wants to leave himself that way out. Like, I'm not gonna go out and say that this girl is gorgeous and beautiful and I'm attracted to her and I'm trying to see what's out, because he's already expecting, or he already thinks there's a high likelihood that you're not rocking with him. But he's your crush and he tries to stay professional. Do y'all work together? What's going on? Is this at church? And fantastic and unindicating words. Does he think I'm ugly? It ain't about if he thinks you're ugly. He won't even, like, I'm wondering if you have any other indicators that he has a crush on you. Has he said that, but then he's beating around the bush with how he feels about how you look? Because another way that he could be going about this is to make sure he doesn't give you the indication that he's actually feeling you. And that may be the case as well. We are on that best friend level at work. Okay, y'all at work. So he doesn't want to put himself out there. I would even still say it's something in a way. Whether he's not that into you or whether he has something already, he already has a woman. So he's making sure he doesn't cross that line. for some reason. And I say respect that. It ain't about if he think you ugly. Respect that he ain't willing to cross that line, because it takes a man crossing that line for you to know that he's really interested. That's the only way you're gonna know he's invested. And wanting to build something and wanting to date. Don't if a man is kind of like hesitant and reluctant about showing interest, don't pull him across the line and pull him the rest of the way. That's not how our masculinity works. You're gonna be doing that the whole relationship. Don't do that. Don't do that. Kiana, BA. You said, how do I go into my next relationship whole? I came from a very, very lustful relationship in the past. I mean, like, if we were out in public, he would lust and his eyes would wander. Okay. So how do you go from a lustful? Okay. So basically you're in a relationship and you got hurt really badly in your last relationship. He would lust, and that's not a matter of just lust. That's a matter of respect as well. But lust, yes, lust is at the root of it. How do you go into your next relationship whole? We have to address specifically how you were broken and not made whole. You know, what ways do you feel like you were hurt? In what ways did your ability to trust and your ability to love and your ability to apply yourself change? That's the question I would ask you. Like, if I'm sitting down, like, it's hard to do it just in this comment, you know, a question like that. How do I go in whole? But I say take an honest inventory. The woman that you were before you got into that relationship, what ways was she able to show up for a man that she loved that you're not able to show up for a man that you love anymore? What ways did you show up for yourself that you're no longer showing up for yourself anymore? And look at that. And now you have something more to address. So say, for instance, if now you don't even like taking care of yourself because you felt like you weren't as pretty as the girls that he was looking at. So now being made whole is about giving yourself that attention, doing, like, in action form, loving yourself. Because people talk about loving yourself, but they never give tangible steps. But loving yourself comes in action form so that it tells your subconscious that you're valuable, because that's what we do to things that are valuable. We invest. So I'm just giving you something in that regards. Hold on, let me see. You said you have insecurities. Okay. So that's pretty much along the lines of what I'm saying. You got to, in action form, love on those insecurities. If it's something that you hid before, in action form, you start being out loud about that. You start being overt about that. You start practicing, whether in communication, like literally out loud to yourself, or you start buying outfits that embrace that. Like, in action form, you love yourself. You're telling your subconscious something different than what his actions told your subconscious. His actions said that you're not as cute or as sexy as the next chick. You're not worth undivided attention. So now you go in the hole by telling yourself something different. And the reason why I say tell yourself, because if you go to somebody else, if you go to another man, you'll just transfer that same power to somebody else to hurt you all over again. But when it's in your hands and you're the foundation, and it takes some time, now you're not subject to any man's values or whether or not he's lustful or whatever. So your insecurities, whatever they are, maybe it's I don't know or care to know exactly. You don't have to put that out here. But maybe it's your boobs aren't as big, or your butt ain't as big, or you're too skinny, or you're too big, or whatever the case may be. That's your call to, like, all right, let me first off identify what I think is beautiful. If it is different from where I'm at now, and I could become a better version of myself, let me put in work there. That tells my self-conscious that I'm worth loving. That's an investment that will return love. Okay? Not only I'm going to invest in that, I'm also going to go, I'm going to get some extra clothes or something like that. I'm going to embrace the things that I started doubting if they were ever sexy or cute. Whatever they may be. Maybe it's your nose. I don't know. I don't care. Don't get surgery. I'm not telling you to get surgery. But I'm just saying, find ways to embrace that, which he took for granted. Let me see here. Adriana, Superman Clark Kent Sr. Man, I've seen you before, man. I mean, I haven't seen your name in a long time, but I've seen you before. What's going on, big brother? Adriana says he's moving because of family issues and hasn't asked me to go with him. He says he wants to see how it is for him in another state. What does this mean? What should I do? I want to give the benefit of the doubt to an extent. He's moving to another state. Is he doubtful that he'll be there for a while? Because on one hand, if this is a benefit of the doubt, he could be doubtful that this move is even a good idea. So he doesn't want you to come in. Like, I don't know how long y'all been together. Are y'all married, engaged? Have y'all been together for a couple of years, a couple of months? So he's already moved to comfort his mom because his brother passed. Now he's leaving again because his mom wants to move to another state. Okay, so there's a lot going on. And what I'll say with that is, don't jump to the conclusion that he really don't want you. Because one thing that we sometimes do, and I've had this problem myself, is we personalize. We personalize things that a person is going through and how they're handling it. And a lot of times they're struggling to handle it. And we personalize it and we make it mean something to us. And it shouldn't really mean much to us because they're just trying to figure out themselves. So if he's trying to go 2 years together, okay, long time. If he's trying to go and deal with that, you coming may put added pressure for that to work out, and he don't even know. He's trying to figure it out. I would say this, in the interest of boundaries, go ahead and decide, or maybe you have this conversation with him, how long that should take. How long that should take, especially if a long distance relationship thing ain't really, been discussed at all. Because one of two things should happen. If not, hey, come along with me, and that be the conversation, then, hey, how are we going to do this long distance thing? What do we want to try to maintain? We need to figure that out as well. But if his mother passed and, he's got deaths in the family, if, all of that kind of stuff, I say give it some grace, unless he's giving you red flags up until this point. Give it some grace that he's trying to figure out something, and there's total room for boundaries for you to express that, but don't necessarily jump to a conclusion that it has a meaning to you guys' relationship yet. Not yet. Let me see. Althea Hoyt says, you don't see each other all the time, so it's okay that your schedule is crazy, so is mine. Now, as time went on, I've noticed he started texting less, calling less. He told me that he lost his friend and told them I will bring his friend back, what you talking about? Okay, hold on. But in the midst, I realized he didn't bring my friend back, and then out the blue, he decided to break up to focus on him and his biz. What? Why did he take your friend? First off, I may have read that wrong, Althea. I may have read that wrong. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I may have read that wrong. He took your friend out the blue, and he's going to bring, his friend back. He was going to bring his friend back. Okay, I'm confused, Althea. I'm going to just keep it all the way 100 with you. I don't know what you're talking about. And nothing but love for you. No disrespect. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, let me see here. Much love, Kiana. You got this. Fedora says last BF was disrespectful. Okay, thank you for sharing. So yeah, if you're just joining in, man, we're doing a Q&A, a little different from my normal live chats. I typically don't do this. I only do Q&As. I do Q&As every week for my Self-Crowned VIP. That's my private mentorship community, and I don't even have the doors open to that right now, but this is something I haven't done this in years, like actually go and answer questions. So if you have a question, right now is a good time. If you have a question, right now is a good time to ask. Alilolia says, I don't have a big butt. I need to go get surgery. I'm not going to tell you not to, but don't jump to go getting surgery. You know something, man? I think social media has put this pressure. Like at first it was music videos back in the day. Some of y'all a little younger, y'all know what I'm talking about. But back in the day, it was music videos that had people feeling all this pressure to look like this and look like that. Now it's social media. And social media gives the impression that the average everyday girl is around here with just, curves and perky boobs. And look, man, no, you don't. You don't have to go and go get no surgery, man. You don't have to. You can if that's what you want, if that's genuinely what you want. Don't let me or nobody else stop you from doing what you want to do to your body. I just encourage you to consider why you're doing it. And the only reason why I would even encourage you to consider that is because a lot of women who have gotten surgeries for a man, It's just like the young lady that was talking earlier before. Like, she just got out of a relationship and there was a lot of lust there. You'll never be enough for a man who's hooked on variety. And that's a lot of times what a man is looking at. Y'all think it's like the perfect butt. He's looking for the most perfect butt, the most perfect boobs, the most perfect face or whatever. And a lot of times what he's looking at is really just the variety. So you get a guy and he likes all of that stuff, but you'll never be another woman after you get old. And now you stuck with this body and you stuck with these enhancements and you stuck with these sometimes issues that got to get dealt with surgically. And it's like, you know, just make sure you are really confident that you're doing this strictly for you, not because you're not getting enough male attention, not because you see all the big booty girls with the perfect butts getting all the love. And don't do that, man. I want to encourage you. That's it. Do you, but just do it for you. That's what I'm saying. I already know people will be mad at that. You can't body shame and body police, and y'all know what kind of world we live in. Y'all know what kind of world we live in. So yeah, if you have any other questions, I'm about to jump in now. My pre-workout done did all it's gonna do. I actually worked out earlier. But my pre-workout done did all it's gonna do right now. So I'm gonna go thug it out in this gym, man. Althea says, now we are in the no contact mode and I really want to say something, but I won't. Okay, Althea, I really just didn't understand what you were saying, but as far as no contact and you really want to say something, but you won't, I would just encourage you to get that out, but not to him. Because what in no contact mode, what happens, it starts to be a struggle because you really yearn for the ability to get a message across and have an intended impact on that person. And it's like, in a way, you're relying on them to empathize with where you're at the core. You want them to feel how you feel or understand how you feel. And that's where the desire to break no contact comes from. But when it's its hardest, when no contact is its worst, it's miserable, and it's like you're fidgeting, you just got the message drafted up and you're ready to go. That's the opportunity to find that person, that safe space elsewhere. And once you find that elsewhere, it's almost like you break one of the chains to your past, to your ex. That's how no contact works psychologically, which is at the core of change behavior, period. Really finding that lowest common denominator of why you do something and replacing it with something that's helpful and not destructive. Let me see here. Sylvia says, I've gotten along with the mother of the boys. She has told me that the kids speak positive about me and had called me their badass bonus mom. We've even planned parties together. Sylvia, I definitely missed part of your question, but that's beautiful. Raquel says, we used to be thousands of years old and still look 21. Raquel, you on a whole different vibe, sister. I ain't mad at you, but you on a whole different vibe. I think I know kind of where you're going with this, but you on a whole different vibe. Much love. Cheryl says, all considered your health versus physical appearances. Please weigh your options. Much love on that too. So Kiana, you said I'm very young in my past relationships though, like 18. So you've grown mentally, but there's still those thoughts there. So thanks. Yeah. If you have kind of incorporated some of those reactions to a toxic relationship into your identity, then you have to like unlearn and relearn some things. And we all in that process of unlearning and relearning, myself included. Had to unlearn and relearn things that became familiar to you since you was a 15-year-old, 14-year-old, 13-year-old, and how you deal with certain emotions or how you see things and what was valid. And sometimes those stories that we interpret and we identify with and we internalize, they can kind of lie dormant. We don't even realize what we've come to believe about ourselves that stem from somebody else who is invalid. And then as we get older, we learn layer after layer what we have to unlearn and then relearn. Okay, right, Raquel, I get you. How do you break a trauma bond? Whew. Kylie, I have some idea. I don't want to act like I'm the expert on trauma bonds, but I tell you what I do know. It ain't no joke. It ain't no joke. And it starts with the internal work. It's not that, you break a trauma bond whenever you say, I'm done with you. And a lot of people think that. And first off, you probably ain't gonna have the strength to really say that. But the first steps I would encourage you to take, and it's kind of like what I told the sister earlier, take an honest audit, honest inventory of yourself. So let me give you kind of like my, I won't say testimony, but I guess to an extent. Is like, for me and my wife, there was a trauma bond on both ends. There was a trauma bond on both ends. It had never gotten really abusive per se, but we definitely were latched onto each other from an unhealthy place, okay? So it starts off in childhood. And when you latch onto somebody from an unhealthy place, they take the place of somebody probably from your childhood. You need to identify that person. How do you break a trauma bond? First things first, identify this person that you're trauma bonded to, whose place did they take? So if you had an emotionally neglectful mother, father, an abusive father, or overly critical father or mother, if you had somebody that had you chasing after their love as a child, because typically whenever we're trauma bonded, we're operating as a little child in that regard, not as an adult with all of our adult lessons and adult knowledge. We're operating as a child that's looking for love in some capacity that we didn't get it as a child. Who is it? Now, once you find out who that is, then you'll be able to separate the past from the present. You'll be able to separate, okay, this person, like say for instance, for me, and my mom is a superhero, but the problem was my dad wasn't there. Mom is always gone. So my childhood was full of a lot of emotional neglect, not because my mom was a bad person. She literally worked 2 to 3 jobs. 2 is on the light year, 2 to 3 jobs year round. So there was a lot of times where I was self-soothing and I didn't understand and so on and so forth. And I realized something. This was years ago when things first went wrong in my marriage, and we starting counseling, and we going to pastors and everything else. I was looking for my wife to be part of what my mom wasn't able to be when I was a child. And that had created a trauma bond. So now I needed her and I loved her and I depended on her and I expected of her from a very unhealthy place. And that was the beginning of my healing. So how do you break a trauma bond? Identify whose place that person is taking, why they're taking that place. And then you can start the process of separating them so you can operate as the adult self that evaluates the situation for what it is and says, this situation is not safe for me. Or if it's, you haven't gotten to that point yet, maybe I need to, as an adult, I need to place boundaries here so that this situation has a fair opportunity to be safe for me. Okay. Now you're breaking the trauma bond, even if you haven't broken the relationship yet, if you're still in that relationship with them. If you're not, now you just look at it strictly from a place of, all right, I just got to separate my ex that I'm still trauma bonded to, maybe even a soul tie included, and that's a spiritual thing. But I need to separate them mentally, emotionally from that person. And now we start challenging stories. So I used to feel like my wife owed me love. She owes me love. She has to love me. She's supposed to love me, right? Not from a control perspective, but like, I'll do anything. I'll do this, I'll do that. And whenever she doesn't respond the way I wanted to, I'm holding her accountable like she's supposed to love me. When the truth is, nobody's supposed to love you except for your parents. Everybody else is supposed to be voluntary, right? So if you have your ex in this space of you're supposed to love me, okay, that ex is probably taking the place of your parent. You don't have that position on a person that's an adult, and if they just want to stop loving you, if they don't want to, be in your life, if they don't want to give you attention, you have to be able to, the adult version of you has to be able to say, you know what? You're not able to deliver to me what I need from this relationship to feel safe, to feel fulfilled. Therefore, I'm going to step away. A trauma bond says, no, you have to love me. You have to show up for me. And that's your inner child working there. Much love, Cynthia. Much love. I appreciate you. Adriana says, this is a TMI, but why do guys purposely get a girl pregnant that they know they don't want to be with? I talked about that yesterday, actually. Why narcs will get you pregnant. The reason why a narc will get you pregnant is because it gives him access. At least that's in the narc's mind. If you have his baby, it gives him access to you and it makes you dependent on him. At least that's what's going on in a narc's mind. And even if he's not a it can be a narcissistic trait that he has. He wants to get you pregnant because from that point forward, financially, emotionally, you depend on him. He has something he can provide you, no other man can, which is a two-parent biological household. Two-parent biological household, two biological parents, both being in the house. He has something he can provide that no man can. It increases your dependence. He almost got your dream in his hand, right? And then he has a reason to stay in contact with you forever. So it's almost like he anchors himself in through your womb. That's why. So Kylie's mom, Kylie's mom, yeah. As you investigate that, you start there, and now you got to start separating the man in your life, the men in your life, the exes from your past or whatever, from that person. So that may be a series of both going to parent. You may not have to go to your parent. You may just have to reframe childhood. Like, so for me, it was mom couldn't be there for me. But you know what? She was a human trying to figure it out. My mom was the same age as me about when she had me, 30 years old. So, give or take, I'm 32. She was trying to figure it out. She didn't have life figured out. She wasn't where she wanted to be. She also was alone doing a job that she didn't start alone. So, holding her, even her to that standard. Like as a child, I got to be able to accept that, it is what it is. Not that she didn't love me or I'm not lovable. It was just the circumstances. And then separate. I'm an adult now. My woman, she has her own desires. She has her own issues, whatever. She may wake up one day and not want to love me, and I have to be able to accept that. I have to be able to accept that. Not perform my way into her love, not retaliate because she's not loving me, not do anything and everything to make her want to love me. And see, when you operate from that adult space, you can hold people accountable. You can release them if need be. You can set boundaries without going in a fight, flight, or freeze mode because you set the boundary. Much love, Francine. Tiffany, what up? See y'all. Tina, my bad. I got work. Let me see. Let me go back up. I got you. Hold on. Oh, Raquel, you're 18 years old? Tina, yeah, I didn't see yours. Tina, can you go back and copy it and paste it again? I done scrolled up all these questions, man, and I don't see yours. Ashley Lewis, how do you move forward when you feel there's no closure or explanation as to why they left? Self-closure. Closure, you got to understand what closure really is. It's really just you giving yourself permission to move forward. Like, say, for instance, if you have a picnic plan, all right, and it rains, you don't need closure on that. You don't need closure on that. It messed up your plans. It may, if you started the picnic, it may have messed up your clothes and messed up your food and all of that stuff, right? But what you accept is that this is something out of your control. It happened. You can't do nothing about it. And you also accept that there's another day coming. Or there's alternatives. Maybe you can't have the picnic, but maybe you can go inside and just have a nice dinner or something. Maybe you can't have it outside, but maybe you can have it on the patio. You make adjustments when you accept that you can't control it. That's what the closure is. Put it in the category of, I cannot control this. I cannot control people. I can't control character. I can't control their decision making. It's not on me. And I'm okay. I'll be all right. So why did he do this? Why did he do that? Why did he... You're probably personalizing something about what they did instead of letting that be their burden. That's their decision, their perception. I can't control that. It wasn't on me and my value. It's not a measure of my value as to whether or not they've seen it or not. That's the closure is really that process. And I have a whole course on that, but that's the easiest, simple way I can put it as far as self-closure. And it's really just getting to the space of acceptance. And it ain't gonna be accepted until you realize and you accept that you can't control it. You can't control it, you can't manage it, you can't do none of that. Yeah, Raquel is 18 years old. That's dope. You're far ahead of your time to even be on this. 18 years old, there's no way I would have been on here 18 years old, like really listening to some real stuff. Let me see here. Jada, that was you. Jada, can you copy and paste your question? I probably was looking for the wrong one. My bad. Let me go back up one more time, Jada. I said I was gonna be in here 5-10 minutes. Look at me. Love is real, man. I appreciate y'all. Jada. Yeah, Jada, I still don't see yours. So if I skipped it, Jada, you gotta go and you gotta type that again or copy and paste it, sis. Praying for everyone, God will get us through anything. Absolutely. But you know something? God has really placed He's placed the tools in you already to get through everything. He's placed it in you already. That's something I had to realize too. It's like, you know, we talk about this. It's like sometimes we ask God for a cake and he gives us the eggs, the flour, the milk, the sugar. He gives us the oil. He don't give us a cake. He gives us the tools to make the cake. So we may ask God for the closure, ask God for the strength. And he's like, he's already giving you these things. He's giving you the tools to utilize. And now it's time for you to access those things. Access. So yes, he can get you through anything. I agree with you. I'm saying he's already giving you tools. He's giving you time. He's giving you energy and effort to invest in yourself. He's giving you family and friends to embrace, to surround yourself with. He's giving you things to focus on. He's giving you resources, whether it's a YouTuber, a book, or a podcast. He's giving you things. Now you got to use those tools. Miss Matthews says, hold on, let me go up real quick. They said I'm skipping questions and stuff. So let me go up a little bit. Courtney says, why do men go hot and cold? Whew, that's a tough one. Because people go hot and cold. Let me be very, very clear. Men and women go hot and cold. The reason why somebody may go hot and cold is it's like a push-pull thing. It could be their attachment style. If they're a fearful avoidant, which typically stems from a trauma that they've experienced. So as they get vulnerable, they immediately register that there's going to be some type of hurt, harm that comes from being vulnerable. So then they pull back, they go into protection mode, they put their guard up, they project rejection onto you by rejecting you. So there's that. Then there's hot and cold because he's a manipulator and he wants to keep you off kilter. He wants to keep you up and down, not knowing what to expect. Let me try to think. There's hot and cold because a person just doesn't have consistency in their life, period. Bad priorities all over the place, emotionally, impulsively led. So everything that they do is just whatever's most present at the moment, whenever it's most convenient, whatever the case may be. This is why I don't mind getting into the why somebody does this, that, and the other, but I really want to stress to what you need to do. You got to be able to put a boundary there and say, you know what? Inconsistency with the way that I feel about you, not healthy. Inconsistency is having this type of effect on me, not healthy, not acceptable. What I need from you is, and you need to have that boundary conversation, right? And then you need to have the ability to hold that boundary. So once you have the conversation about what your boundary is, you need to have the ability to hold that boundary. Stand firm on that. All right, you've proven that you cannot deliver what I need emotionally to feel safe in this relationship. Therefore, I need to remove myself. And if you can't do that, now their energy needs to be redirected to you. Why are you not equipped to protect yourself from an inconsistent person is the real question. Not why is he inconsistent? Ms. Matthews says, what's your take on being a public figure versus a private one? Pros and cons of each column. Ooh, I got this pre-workout. That's not ass, y'all. That's pre-workout. Pros and cons of public figure. I got you, Jada. Now I'm on another one, so I'm gonna scroll up. A public figure it's beautiful, but it's also difficult depending on what your personality type is. My personality type, I'm not a big, show my life type of person. I got children. Y'all probably never seen the children. Y'all only seen them as babies. I don't like doing that. People, always said, oh, D, you hiding this and that. I'm like, man, that's never been my style to show my private life. That's just not my thing. Not like, the Kardashians or, some people show everything. They in the delivery room, they at the funeral taking selfies and all of that kind of stuff. So my personality type makes it a little bit difficult at times, challenging to be a public figure. Not just because people can look at your negatives. It's just like, people can sometimes feel entitled to every part of you. So that's where it's difficult. It's beautiful because you reach a large deal of people. And if your purpose is in reaching people, then you get reminded that, like when I go in here in the gym, when I go anywhere, I'm typically taking pictures and stuff like that. It don't bother me in the sense that I appreciate knowing and being reminded that my work has value in people's lives. That's the part I love about being a public figure. I don't care for attention and adoration, and all that stuff don't do nothing for me. But when people walk up to me and say, D man, like I watched your videos in this really low moment, or something that you said got me through to this other side of this issue I was dealing with, or whenever you said this, man, I knew I wasn't alone. And I have men and women that come to me regularly and say things like that. It's a reminder, and at times it comes right whenever you feel most discouraged. It's a reminder that what you're doing is worth something. So that's the beautiful part of it, and you kind of got to take the bad with the good as far as being a public figure. But I don't necessarily like the part where people feel entitled, and you know what I'm saying, like I don't get too much of that, but it happens. And then you online, and then your family get implicated in things, and if they can't get to you, to get to your family. So there's the negative there, but I like to look on the positive side of things. Private figure, I honestly have all intentions of becoming a private figure in the next 2 to 3 years. I don't want to be a household name anymore. I'm not really household, but I don't want to be a household name like what it's still heading towards. I want to be able to make money, support my family, know that my work is meaningful in people's lives while somehow being in the background. So I can't even give you what it's like to be a private figure except for when I first started. And that was the best time I ever had doing this. When it was like this, y'all see the numbers ain't the same on YouTube like they was before the whole scandal thing. And this is when it was the best for me. When it was just 100 of us, 50 of us, I remember those days, man. It was so personal. I could talk, and I remember names. I remember, that's why I started Self Crown VIP, my private mentorship community 3 years ago, because I wanted that feeling. I don't like, 10,000 people being on the live chat and I can't get to nobody, and it's trolls and it's this, that, and the other. I love the personal, almost one-to-one. I get to answer questions on a deep level. Forget going viral. I just went viral last month. It's like I can go viral with my eyes closed. If I want to get back on that going viral every week, I can do that. The private thing is so personal though. I love that. And whenever I go back on tour, I'm probably going to try to create that again. Very private, intimate, personal. I can connect with y'all because, this comes from a personal place, man. When I first started this whole, I don't know if I call it giving advice, but this whole relationship thing, this saved my life. This saved my life, man. At the time when I started this back in 2011, 2012, I was dealing with some of the darkest mental and emotional states I've ever experienced. And me sharing from that place, that's all this was, me just sharing. I just want to share. There ain't no spaces for me as a man to be heard with what I'm thinking and what I'm, what's on my mind. I went online to share. And then a couple of people came in and said, hey man, what you doing is helping me. And just finding purpose in that. That was like, wow, my life can have meaning. My experiences, how painful they are, they can have meaning. My ups, my downs, my mistakes can have meaning. But in that, it was like the personal small group that saved my life. Me going viral and stuff, that was a byproduct of just, I guess, being effective in people's lives and, they seeing the changes they wanted to see. So I kind of missed that. And I like, to a large extent, I like that things have kind of tapered down, and it's just my core fans and my core believe, the folks that really have gotten something from what I do, not just the people that's here because I'm a hot topic. I love that it's back to us. That's all it's doing, is sending these live chats to those of y'all who really, really rock with me. Michelle Monroe says, your book and videos helped me get out of a bad relationship. Thank you. Much love to you. I'm so glad, man. Like that kind of stuff, that helps. That kind of stuff, that's what makes what I do meaningful. Would you ever speak on a smaller channel, says Anisha? Yeah. I don't speak on many. If y'all notice, I don't do a ton of interviews. I just want to be able to see the work and be able to assess and discern the character of the person I'm gonna be talking to. You know, I want to know what their agenda is, because sometimes as a bigger name, you got people that want to get something off of you. They want to get that moment off of you. You know what I'm saying? Especially now that I'm really controversial, I guess. You know, it's like, oh, how can we put a good headline to get some money off of him or whatever? So now I'm like extra protective. Don't forget your crown as well, public or private. For sure, for sure. All right, Jada. I'm looking for you, Jada. I pasted it again for you. Sorry, I know much messages. Jada, you said you pasted it again. Okay. Can you answer my? I'm not seeing it, Jada. I'm gonna be real with you. I ain't gonna lie to you, Jada. So I gotta move forward. Tina, you say you just resent your question. Some of it must not be showing all the questions. And I don't know, because it's not 1,000 people on here. It's, you know, it's only a few of us. So, Tina Sharp. Now I'm gonna go back and look for yours. I've been on here 45 minutes. I said I'm gonna be on here 5. Leona says, why veterans? Oh shoot, Leona, why you retract your message? I was looking at it. Oh well. I was looking at it. But yeah, being a public figure, and I maybe wrap it up soon. I mean, just look at Kevin Samuels. You know, public figure versus a private figure. He became a public figure. It wasn't instantly. I thought he only been doing this like 1.5 years, 2 years. Apparently, he was making content since like 2015. But he went viral like in the last 1.5 years, 2 years. And I just like, I don't, y'all know, I'm not a fan of Kevin Samuels' content. Him dying don't change that. But I cringed for his family. I cringed for his mama. His mama ain't make no bad content. I cringed and I hurt and I empathized with her. Why? Because say for instance, whenever, and this was really tough, man. I don't want to get emotional. But when all that stuff happened like last year, a little over a year ago now, one of the hardest things about it was knowing that I brought shame to my mama. I hated that. I hated that. I brought shame to my mama. She's one of my biggest supporters. You know, I love my mama. Y'all know my mama is like a superhero to me. Seeing that woman do what she did with 5 children, man, by herself, and to know I brought her shame because I want to be great and I'm, you know, created this name for myself, and now there's this energy that she can't protect me from. It's, you know, she got to see these messages about me. And so whenever the Kevin Samuels thing just happened, a lot of people expected me to go at his neck and hate him. And, you know, he's trash. Look, I think his content, for some of his approach was trash. And I'm not shy about saying that. But it wasn't just about him whenever he died. I was like, man, the way that he left this world, at the time that he left this world, and how he made his legacy, I'm like, yo, that is probably putting his mama through it. Because she's grieving while at the same time seeing her son's name trashed. Yes, he created the issue, and I hate that he did that for his mama. I hate what I did for my family. But that's the public figure downside. Is like, you may just be doing what you do. You may, I mean, whether it's a flaw, you know, it's a mistake that you made, or it's a thing that you stand on that a lot of people just don't agree with, or it's a way that you approach what you do and it's not good. It's just hurtful. Like your family got to pay for those sins. You ain't in real life where you the only one that's got to account for what you do. Your family got to pay for those sins. Your friends. So when you don't just like, okay, in your real life, you might let somebody down, but when you're a public figure, you let millions of people down. You let millions of people down. And so that's, you know, one of the reasons why I wasn't so hard on Kevin Samuels. It wasn't even, like, honestly, dog, I don't have good things to say about K. Samuels as far as at the time he left this world. I think he could have been better if he had repented and, you know, came around, because we all fall short. I ain't perfect now. I ain't never been perfect. And he wasn't perfect. And I hate that he didn't at some point come around to using that powerful platform that he created, you know, in a better, more constructive and helpful and healing way. But as it stands, I ain't like his content. But man, I hurt for that black woman that's probably elderly, because he was almost 60. So his mama got to be close to 80, maybe older than that. It's a 80-something-year-old black woman, man, that went into Mother's Day because her son is a public figure. Probably, getting off, like, not on social media, people blowing up her phone, text message all over the place because he's a public figure. Which is a public figure. I didn't have a problem with people saying, F his work, F his body of work, F how he used his platform. I didn't have a problem with that, but I know social media goes further. So it got to his mama in a very, I'm pretty sure messed up way. Let me see here. He said, but the bulk of his messages didn't sound like they were to uplift women. No, they weren't. No, Miss Matthews, they're not. They weren't. If we're just being real, no, they weren't. There's no debate on that. I don't care who tries to make y'all feel bad. Look, there ain't a single black woman that should feel guilty for being relieved that Kevin Samuels can no longer inflict that verbal abuse on y'all. There's not one. I mean, there's not one. I'm not saying, I'm in agreement with going and gloating that he's, as a human being, is dead. But if you are a black woman and you feel like, you know what, I'm glad I don't have to continue seeing these messages get put out, circulating every time I get on social media or whatever, that despises my very existence. Don't feel bad for that. Don't feel bad for that. You don't have to go and see the name calling, that your leftovers and your big Shirleys and the verbally abusive things. You don't have to see that anymore. Don't let nobody make you feel guilty for at least not, like, looking forward to not having that be a thing from such a major platform. But like I said in the last video, there are people way worse than him. There were people worse than him before. There's going to be people worse than him after. Now, people are going to try to take his winning formula and take it to another level, to be a more extreme version. And now that crowd is all in one place. They looking for a new leader. They're looking for a new voice. So be prepared for that. I give it, by the end of the year, somebody that goes viral once that sounds like him, they're going to be the new voice. And it sucks because if you look at his fans and those that are big fans of his, look at the energy that they project. They go around attacking folks, man. That says a lot about his platform. Let's see. Why veterans man sometimes doesn't show that they are in love. Did they get a cold heart because of the war, or maybe they are not in love? That's a tough one to answer, Leonela. But more than likely, with veterans, especially those that get into the service at 17, 18 years old, in their, really developmental years, they get close to somebody, and at any given moment, they could be gone. Or maybe they actually seen that happen. They seen somebody get killed. Or maybe they grew up as a military brat. A lot of people in the military grow up in a military home. So they never are allowed to really feel safe building any close friendships or relationships. I'm determined to see Jada's. I'm going back up to see yours again, Jada. All I keep seeing is you saying sorry, of course, there. Of course. Says there's no other race that deliberately disparages the women of their race in the public and in nauseam. None? Oh, yeah. No, that was, is what it is, man. I think it's so hard to put a finger on it as to why, but I think there's so much pain between the two of us as black men and women, especially. I know there's a lot of people who listen to me that aren't black, but, as far as my community, there's a lot of pain, man. There's been a lot of dysfunction. The media hasn't helped. Everything that we've watched since we were children has pitted us against each other and shown us against each other. So that's what's popping. That's what we like to see. There's a market for that. And we bought into the belief that we're each other's enemy when we really shouldn't be each other's enemy. The pain that we have, the trauma that we've suffered, that we still need healing from, that's the real enemy. We get that out the way, we can really love on each other. It said insights, hate causes many problems but doesn't solve any. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much on K. Sam's. Like I said, it's different if a person is alive. They still have a chance to go and be better, to improve themselves, to, you know, take the constructive criticism. But when they're gone, it's like, all right, it's over with. Now, this is what I do expect to happen. And I don't know if they'll do it, but I expect, if they're smart, you know, just in the interest of continuing his legacy and all of that, if K Samuels was my boy, I'd be looking to take over the reins, not to put out messages, but to go continue putting out content and stuff like that from his old years, that when nobody really knew who he was. I would continue to create clips and put stuff out there. So I'm expecting, and I'm kind of surprised that I'll be surprised if they don't. If somebody don't take over his channel and start continuing his tweets and, you know, basically immortalizing him, because he has a lot of content. And that's where I want you guys to, that's why I said in my video, take back the power, because even though he's gone, his brand and his messages and his thought process isn't really gone. He may have just started something that's going to continue now. So make sure that you are not able to be as affected by anybody that comes and they, you know, take that toxic approach. But I didn't disagree with everything that he said. But I absolutely looked at some of the things he did for shock jock, you know, value and clicks and, you know, that kind of thing. And like, that's really, really hurtful. It ain't just like distasteful. That's really hurtful, man. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. Dr. Joy DeGruey's work explains the why of that, but perpetuating it is insanely logical to maintain. Oh, for sure. It can just be beneficial, man. It could be beneficial, and, you know, he was making out. I would just suspect, just off of me knowing my platform and his platform, you know, at my height and at his height, I would say he was probably making around $600,000 a year. So around about, you know, about $55,000 a month. And that's very enticing to people. He actually has a video, if I'm not mistaken, where he was talking about how he used to give a lot of advice to just men. And then he said in one of his videos, it's gone viral too, that he doesn't get any views, likes, comments, shares, but if he went to go bashing women, he would go viral. He'd get all the likes, comments, and shares. He said that out his own mouth. And that lends me to believe that at some point he said, I'm just going to go and get the views. I'm going to blow up. So, you know, why is it logical? Yeah, because you can get money off that. O'Shea made a video on you. He kind of takes the same approach that Kevin Samuels used to. Like before he blew up, you know, using, like, constantly talking to me or whatever. That's cool. Part of being on YouTube and all of that, man, it's built on that. It's built on the beef and built on the get something off somebody's name, and it's built on that, man. It's an ugly space. YouTube is, sheesh. You don't get hot anymore just by like putting out really valuable content on topics that matter to a group of people. So, you know, some people got, at least unless you're talented and you're gifted for this, but a lot of people got to go in, you know, this person exposed or this person, and they put some misquote, and that's how they get popping. You see some of the best bloggers, and, you know, look at it like this. Y'all know 6ix9ine? Y'all know that rapper 6ix9ine? Look at the rapper 6ix9ine. Look at his numbers online. What does he do a lot of? He goes and antagonizes people and mentions people and gets beef with people. And that's how he blew up. That's just a big thing on social media, period. People are, the numbers, the masses are fascinated by that. It's rare, and it's extremely difficult to build a base, a true base, just on a message and quality of the message. It's hard. Plant-based luscious. Hi, Derek. How are you? Thank you for asking that, first off. I think that's such a compassionate question to ask. I'm well, though. I'm well. I'm blessed, man. I have my ups and downs just like everybody else, but I'm well. I'm actually better than I've been in a long time. Last year was hard, and it wasn't even because of the scandal thing. It was like, man, I went to so many funerals last year. Between a few of them, I couldn't even unpack my suitcase. And by God's grace, so far, I haven't had to deal with that. It's been a very calm first quarter going into the second quarter. My children are good. My wife is good. My mama is good. I'm actually getting ready to go see her next week. I miss her dearly. So I've been spending a lot of time, man, just like when everything went left with my marriage, before anybody else knew anything, went left with my marriage, it put things in perspective to where I stopped hustling so hard, stopped grinding so hard, because I wasn't doing well internally. And I started really focusing on things that matter. And then since I started doing that, my happiness, my fulfillment, my peace through the roof. I spend less time just trying to grind and hustle and get to the next venture and so on and so forth. And I started really just planting myself down in what matters most, and those who need me, those who love me, my children that rely on me. You know, I started really just doing what matters, even if it's not going to be really profitable or whatever. So with that, you know, I'm experiencing the cumulative effect of doing better than ever, and it's beautiful. Why do men stay on social media dating apps if they're in a relationship? I don't think they just don't completely close that door. I think it's a way to feel kind of safe in a relationship. Superman Clark Kent Sr. says, thanks for that. You know something, as a brother, you know how rare that question is. How are you doing? How are you really? How are you? That's such a rare question. Like somebody to ask that and really want to know, not just like passing, how are you? It's also way older than me. I don't know. Okay. Jada says, my ex won't leave me alone in person, even though I walked straight past him. He even would try to talk to my sister and sometimes about me, but he never texted me, and once gave him the opportunity to open up, and he just was so nonchalant, like he doesn't want to talk about our problems. He's also way older than me. I don't know what's going on, and he's a player, but he never played me. We connected emotionally, so why doesn't he care? All right, that's finally your question. I was staying on here trying to get to you. Stayed on an hour. Still got to work out though. Why doesn't he care? So there's a difference between what's happening and the meaning that you attach to what's happening. He tried to talk to your sister, first off. He tried to talk to your sister? Did I read that right? Let me see here. Walk straight past him. He would even try to talk to my sister, and sometimes about me. When you say talk to your sister, do you mean like conversation, or like try to talk to your sister, like connect with your sister? If he tried to talk to your sister, Jada, that's the end of the conversation. I don't even want to give you advice why he don't care. Like he would be like, why is she? Oh, okay. I'm like, you tripping. First off, I'm gonna give it G with you. You tripping. So if he would go and talk to your sister, but not directly to you, that's interesting. It's almost like he wants a certain perception, but not an actual end result. So he wants it to seem like he's trying and he's invested and he's the good guy and you're the bad guy, but he doesn't actually want resolution and to come together in middle ground and peace and forward progression. And you have a lot of people who are more concerned with the perception of them as opposed to their truth and what's actually going on. So why doesn't he care? He may care, but about a different end result than what you presume he cares. He may want something different. He may want control. He may want access, but not actually want you and to love you. Appreciate you, plant-based lush. You know, the thing about it is people think that we're different. Y'all, I done had money. I done been broke. I done been all of that. Money does not change how much of a human we are. So like, say for instance, when Tasha K and Cardi B was going through their thing, and Cardi B was talking about how she was, you know, and I guess they still kind of going through it, but she talked about how she was suicidal and stuff, and people laughed at that. I'm like, yo, that's real. That's real. I wouldn't even be surprised if Tasha K had gone through her own little struggle and storm, and you know, when everybody got to talking. You know, myself, any celebrity, that's a valid question to ask. Even the people like Will Smith, he just went through his situation. When I see people going through that, I'm like, yo, y'all do know we still human. And I ain't got nowhere close to Will Smith money and stuff, but I'm just saying people think that money and fame and success makes you just like this non-human thing. And it don't. Now, I'm talking about, y'all, I'm not trying to put my business out there, but I've materialistically, financially been very well off since I've started this thing. A couple of years ago, I had a Lamborghini, a mansion, a condo, all at once, and comfortable. Multiple accounts in the 6-figure range, liquid, good. I can buy pretty much anything I reasonably want, I could go get. And still had the same feelings, same ups and downs, same stresses, you know, that I had whenever I was in an apartment and I could barely pay the $1,400 rent on that apartment. The same stresses, same relationship issues, arguments. So it doesn't really change. A person can have all of this, that, and the other, make $1 million a month and all of this stuff. And y'all, I'm telling y'all, there's a lot less separation between us and, you know, I say us as a public figure, the perceived super successful, if you will, and the average person. Kanye West, people are human. So thank you for those of you like plant-based lush for asking things like that. You know, how are you doing? And I would encourage y'all, if y'all really want to connect with a celebrity, ask stuff like that more often. How are you doing? Are you okay? Really, how are you doing? Ask that. Ask that. But I'm going to get up out of here. It's been over an hour now. I appreciate it, Superman Clark Kent Sr. Yeah, I remember you, brother. I remember your name especially. So much love to you, man. Hope you and your family are well. Again, thank you, guys. Holla at y'all later. I might just leave this one up. Why not? Y'all be good, though.